80.8 degrees Celsius. Okay, for those of us using Fahrenheit, that is a staggering 177 degrees. Just let that number sink in for a second. Try to imagine a heat so absolute, so overwhelmingly oppressive, that the very concept of survival just seems mathematically impossible. Today, we're completely immersing ourselves in an analysis of an expedition to the absolute hottest place on Earth.
Here, breathing feels like a hot hairdryer. The Earth is like a burning pan. Those are the actual, literal words from the expedition team the second they stepped out of their vehicle and into Iran's Lut Desert. They said that just rolling down the car window blasted them with air so scorching it choked them. It literally suffocated their throats like a physical force. So the stakes of this journey were immediately, viscerally clear right from the jump. This is an environment that actively rejects human life.
Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're taking a chronological descent into a completely hostile environment, guided by an incredible first-hand travelogue called Descent into the Inferno, Surviving the Lut Desert. Okay, let's dive right into this data because honestly, these numbers are exactly what drew the team to investigate this natural furnace in the first place. So for years, the heat record was held by a 2005 NASA satellite reading that was 70.7 degrees Celsius. Pretty insane, right? But recently, researchers from the American Meteorological Society updated their modeling software, and they suggested the Lut Desert surface temperatures could actually reach a mind-bending 80.8 degrees Celsius. That terrifying possibility is exactly what this expedition set out to unofficially verify. Part 1. The physical toll. Surviving the heat. To really wrap our heads around the sheer danger of this environment, we first need to clarify a really crucial scientific difference between the ground temperature and the air temperature. So the ground, which is covered in this dark sand and rock, absorbs solar radiation directly. That means the ground is easily exceeding 70 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, the air temperature, which is measured about 1 meter above that burning surface, was hovering around 54 degrees. So think about that. While the air is suffocating your lungs, the ground is literally trying to cook you from the bottom up. And the sheer hostility of this place becomes super obvious when you just look at what happened to the team's technology. It all just started dying. It's like a cascading failure. Their infrared thermometers, totally broken. The laser thermometer threw an error code after just 2 minutes. Their phones were overheating so badly they constantly had to dunk them in ice water or shove them into refrigerators just to get them to turn on. Cameras were repeatedly shutting down after mere seconds of rolling. Even the physical liquid inside their analog backup emergency thermometer got permanently stuck. I mean, the environment was literally breaking their machines. And if it does that to metal and glass, imagine what it does to flesh and bone. The tactile danger was immediate. The team actually noted that a friend's shoe melted the exact moment he stepped onto the ground. The rubber just gave way. No joke. Holding a camera required them to wear thick winter gloves because the metal would instantly burn their skin. And they even found out that wearing high-heeled sneakers couldn't give them enough clearance to stop the radiant heat from burning the soles of their feet. Part 2. Gandam, the core of the deserts. So, navigating through all these failing systems, the team pushed deeper into the absolute darkest, hottest, and most dangerous zone of the expedition. We're talking about an area that looks way more like the surface of Mars than Earth. It's a region called Gandam, and this brilliantly illustrates the terrifying history of the place, because Gandam actually translates from Persian to roasted wheat. The local legend says that a passing caravan was forced to leave their load of wheat on these dark basalt rocks. When they came back a few days later, they found all the wheat perfectly roasted by the earth itself. Now, the science behind that folklore is fascinating. Gandam acts as a literal natural furnace because of this perfect storm of geological and geographic anomalies. First off, it's completely covered in dark basalt volcanic rocks, which just soak up maximum solar radiation. Second, it sits at the absolute lowest elevation in the entire desert, which traps all that dense hot air. And third, the surrounding mountains act like giant walls, completely blocking any wind circulation. So the heat pours in, but it absolutely cannot get out. As you'd expect, this natural oven took a terrifying biological toll on the team in almost no time at all. Let's look at the timeline. They arrived right at noon, which is exactly when the thermometers gave up the ghost. By 2:15 p.m., even though they were constantly chugging from these 2-liter water bags, they started experiencing severe dehydration. And by 3:30 p.m., They had to completely retreat to whatever artificial shade they could rig up. Their heart rates were spiking, and bizarrely enough, they actually started shivering uncontrollably, which, if you don't know, is a classic, deeply terrifying symptom of severe heat exhaustion. The sun was just rapidly draining their life force.
Part 3. Life in the Inferno. Defying the dead zone.
But right at the peak of their suffering, the narrative pivots to this completely wild, surprising twist. It forces us to ask, is the hottest place on Earth truly 100% devoid of all life? I mean, there are countless articles all over the internet claiming that absolutely nothing can survive out in Gandambarian. Even the team themselves assumed that wandering out there meant certain death for literally any living creature.
Yet somehow, defying all logic and reason, they encountered a shocking array of really resilient animals. Right in the middle of a burning June afternoon, they found a species of praying mantis just alive and well. They documented evidence of desert foxes, snakes, lizards, and even spiders. It is just a profound, incredible testament to the stubborn adaptability of nature when faced with impossible extremes.
However, let's be real, nature's adaptability definitely has its limits, and the brutal reality of this environment is always lurking right around the corner. While some creatures have evolved to beat the heat, others meet a really grim fate. The team actually found a grasshopper perfectly baked onto the dark rocks. They said it looked like it had literally just been pulled out of a frying pan. They also talked about the incredibly tragic fate of migratory birds. These poor birds get lured down by these hyper-realistic heat mirages, thinking it's water, only to become trapped and perish from the heat because there's absolutely zero shade.
Part 4. Surviving the Desert. The Escape. So realizing just how incredibly vulnerable they were in the face of this unforgiving ecosystem, the team knew they couldn't stick around. Survival out there isn't about luck, guys. It is entirely about strict, non-negotiable protocols. To avoid becoming permanent victims of the Lut Desert, they had to meticulously manage their escape. Step 1. Lower the car tire pressure so the heat wouldn't cause a blowout on the scorching sand. Step 2. Cover every single inch of exposed skin to prevent immediate severe burns. Step 3. Chug massive, continuous amounts of water. And finally, Step 4. Desperately navigate their way back to high ground before evening hit. Now, you might be wondering, why the mad dash for high ground? Well, as the sun begins to set out there, the extreme temperature shifts generate some seriously violent atmospheric reactions. The team describes seeing these ominous red clouds gathering, totally masking the sun, and then hearing this deafening sound that was like a roaring ocean. That was the warning signal of an impending, massive sandstorm. They barely, and I mean barely, made it to a higher, safer elevation to set up camp right before these blinding winds swept through the lower desert exactly where they had just been standing. So, the absolutely crucial point we're left with today is this. The team successfully escaped the highest temperatures officially and unofficially recorded on planet Earth. But as researchers keep pointing out that global temperatures are slowly and steadily rising across the board, it forces us to ask a deeply, deeply unsettling question. Is the 80.8 degrees Celsius reality of the Lut Desert just some weird geographical anomaly, or are we looking at a dark, creeping preview of our own planet's future? Think about that for a while and keep exploring.